Welcome back to Meet the Developer Podcast, a podcast where we let you hear directly from some of Dubai's top developers themselves. We'll be diving into the DNA and vision, addressing FAQs, and ultimately helping you align with the best developer based on your investment needs. I'd like to welcome both Eva and Abdullatif. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
It's our pleasure to be here.
Let's dive right in. Eva, who are Ellington Properties?
So Ellington, we are a boutique developer. Mm-hmm. We've been established now for 10 years, so since 2014. And yeah, over those 10 years, we've really achieved big things in the market. We are focusing much more on the design than most developers out there. And we are launching in very interesting areas that have a lot of potential for our investors, such as Dubai Hills, JVC, Palm, downtown, just to name a few.
Spread out quite a lot, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Almost everywhere in Dubai, I would say.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It certainly seems to be that way. I don't think you have to travel too far to find an Ellington project.
Exactly.
That's what you're looking for in the market, for sure. Abdullatif, can you tell us a little bit more about the man behind the brand?
Exactly. So basically, Ellington was founded by one of the real estate tycoons, Mr. Robert Booth. Mm-hmm. His journey started in Canada, where he developed, market, and sold some of the most reputable projects across the world. In Canada, he developed one of the biggest master community back in Toronto, and then he joined Concord ADEX Development, and he rolled as a senior director there, and he oversaw more than $2 billion projects over there.
Wow.
Then in 2001, he joined EMAR, and he rolled some of the senior roles there as well, including the CEO of North America and CEO of real estate. With EMAR, he was like the role behind a couple of communities like Dubai Marina, Arabian Ranches, Greens, Emirates Hills, Emirates Living, Dubai Hills, Creek Harbor, almost like
iconic, right? And they're
exactly.
all iconic in their own right, which I think is
Speaking to the iconic, also he was one of the main guy behind downtown Burj Khalifa as well.
Wow.
He's the guy that hired the master planners. He is the guy that brought the retails, some residential compounds, and many stuff basically.
Yeah.
And then he started his journey with Ellington in 2014.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, it's really good to understand for me in particular, and I think for a lot of our audience who perhaps are not necessarily here, or even the people that are in Dubai who perhaps don't quite know. I think that there's a lot of people who probably seen your billboards and maybe are familiar with the name, but not necessarily the journey behind the actual man and behind the brand, right? And I think
exactly.
that's so important. So I know from my kind of conversation that I have with my clients, and Eva, you could probably speak to this as well, but one of the key elements, and you touched on it as well, is that this is the guy who actually created downtown as we know it. And I always ask people, when you look at different communities, what is it about downtown that you actually like? And what people tend to say is the community aspect.
Yeah.
Well manicured streets, whether it's the lined palm trees, the way that everything's so well interconnected. And I think you have to attribute a lot of that to Robert Booth himself, and
exactly.
That's the genius
100%.
behind the brand.
He's really like one of the for us, he's a mentor as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the stories that he told us back in that days with EMAR and all this, that's why when people say Ellington, I said look at our management.
Yeah.
When you invest or you do anything, start with the management of any development.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
The management of Ellington has all the three management has more than 75 years of experience in real estate.
Wow.
Yeah. And Ellington, I would say also all our management, including even designers, architects, everyone that works behind the scenes is in one office, which again is very important.
Yeah,
so the control is much better as well. Exactly. Over everything that we do on a regular basis.
Yeah, naturally. We'll have a bit more synergy, right? So
exactly.
Everyone's kind of working a little bit closer to each other. Maybe decisions are easily made,
exactly.
Naturally being in one room majority of the time. So no, I think that's and I like what you said there, Abdullatif, because it's a question I often ask myself when I look at any new developer is, look, the project could be great, sometimes we see some fantastic projects in the market,
Yeah.
and I know we're all familiar with those, but it's actually trying to like look a little bit deeper beyond the brochure itself, as in, okay, where does the vision start from? Who's the guys at the top? Is it, government backed? Is it, someone? I mean, I often refer to Robert Booth, and if he's listening, I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying so, but we kind of locally regard him here as like the Steve Jobs of Dubai real estate.
Exactly.
We at least give him that accolade. I hope he doesn't mind, but he definitely has that prowess around him, and the kind of work he's done and his commitment to Dubai real estate, and has this kind of shaped for not only what's happened, but shaping up for the future.
Exactly.
Which actually leads on to a good point. So in your opinion, Eva, what makes up the DNA of Ellington Properties? What are the kind of key ingredients? If you had to describe it to our European or African or Asian audience that perhaps are not so familiar, what would you tell them?
So Ellington, due to, of course, all the experience that our management has had, they've been able to see what was missing in the market and bring this into our DNA. Yeah. So I would say that the main points that Ellington focuses more than any other developer out there would be, first of all, the design. So we are a design-led boutique developer. So we really focus on the aesthetics. Any Ellington building that you will enter in the market, everyone says that they recognize it immediately. Yeah. They know it's Ellington. So we have a very strong brand. Now also in terms of finishings, the quality that we provide inside all our apartments is very distinguished from all the other apartments in the market. So by this I mean for example, our materials are imported from Europe, which is not that common, and we will always try and use the best materials for that project. So even stain proof, scratch proof, so all sorts of things that you wouldn't find.
Exactly. Yes.
I
guess like if I would say it from my point of view, is like Ellington is a home for people that truly appreciate art of design from its first principle to last detail.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense. But please elaborate.
Yeah. So it's also like we stand for our like world best class projects. Like we benchmark ourselves against the world best projects. That's why even as like some agent, they come to me and said, by the way, we went to XYZ developer and they told us they are competing Ellington. This is a proud moment for both of us, to be honest. Like for every investor agent that they work with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And is because I'm very much a broker myself, so I hear this all the time. And when I go to new launches, we don't have to say names, but every new launch is like, we are gonna be like Ellington. So Ellington very much set the benchmark, and there's certain communities that you go to. Look, let's address the elephant in the room. Very much JVC developers are just saying, we love what Ellington did. We are basically benchmarking ourselves against that. And what they say is generally is like, imitation is the best form of flattery, right?
Yes, of course.
And look, no disrespect to any of the other developers, but if you've set Ellington Properties as the benchmark, it's definitely a compliment.
Exactly.
Even like a friend of mine, 1 year ago, he started his first development in JVC.
Okay.
He gave me a call and he said, hey, where I'm in the office, can I come say? He said, like, I finally started my first building in JVC and I want to use Ellington standards, basically. Like, I had to show him the show apartment, the details. Even we went to the details, like how we create our contracts. And I was like very happy. Like if we if we are the benchmark of this section, then we are very happy to see other people trying to copy us.
Absolutely. And you know what I think is really special? Because if you then have set the benchmark, and if other developers are trying to aspire to be like Ellington, it just increases the quality of projects and developments within Dubai. And look, we all have the same kind of shared goal of just elevating design, offering a better quality finishing for the audience, the end users, the investors alike. Exactly. So I think it's a very healthy thing for the market, because now people have more choice. But, you know, like most things, right? If Ellington keeps setting the benchmark, I'm sure you guys will speak to this, but whilst people are catching up, you're also trying to create the separation, right?
Exactly.
So you keep elevating on each
Of
new
course.
project, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, every time we use, we will add something. So we can even talk a bit about our amenities,
Yeah,
because
sure.
this is also something that is very distinguishable between Ellington
For
and
sure.
any other developer.
Yeah.
So by this, I mean, everyone that lives in Dubai knows that most buildings will come with a pool, will come with a gym.
Sure.
That's standard,
Yeah,
right?
we're used to seeing that now. That's not special. so to
Exactly,
speak,
it's
right?
not that special.
Yeah.
But if you really dive deep into what we will provide extra other than that, it's really amazing what we are providing. It's really, we are creating a lifestyle, a community inside our buildings. To give you a few examples, we are gonna add clubhouses, which is a place where people can gather, they can host a party, a birthday for kids, whatever, how they
Exactly.
want to
Yeah,
use it. We provide Wi-Fi in all our amenities, so if you want to
Yeah.
work from there, you can, it's very
Yeah.
easy. And this is just to name a few. We have karaoke rooms, cinema rooms, yoga,
Podcast
Pilates.
Podcast room, which is, I know, we shouldn't be recording here, we should do it in the Ellington building, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's really special because look, I'm so keen to tell my clients at least about, particularly about the amenities, because you touched on it. And I think that's a real big one for me. And again, speaking to our perhaps clients that are maybe not so used to investing in Dubai, maybe in the UK, maybe in Europe and so on. And yes, having a building with a swimming pool, at least in London, the UK, is not so common because half the time you don't have the weather for it. So, you know, it's kind of a given. But in Dubai, it's box standard, right? It's not special. Everybody has one. So I really like the fact that Ellington are delivering that for sure, because that's a must-have requirement, but they do it exceptionally well. But then over and beyond that is giving somebody else more of the lifestyle elements, and what I think is really synonymous with the Ellington brand, or at least the kind of people entering the market now, is we're used to the swimming pools and gyms, and they are great, they are world class, but what else can you give me from a lifestyle element? And I think now, as we've seen the trends, and very much living proof of it, people are doing podcasts more, people are working from home more, having co-working spaces and these clubhouses now. For me, that really defines Ellington as a brand. And I tell my clients a lot about this because you have studios and one-bedroom properties in a lot of your buildings as well, right? So when you have a studio, one-bedroom, and perhaps you have got some guests coming over, because for the most part, we're often expats here. So you might have friends, family come over, and you might want to just entertain them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, without having to go to a restaurant or go book a multi-function room somewhere else, to have a space within your own building itself that you can almost book and, you know, hire out, and whether you wanted to cater for your friends or family and just have somebody have some space to almost accommodate them, it's actually quite special. You don't really see it in Dubai, not
Even,
at least for the majority of the
Not
buildings.
at all.
on top, like even like you don't see this stuff even in some hotels.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Yeah,
the clubhouse,
agree.
I did like a couple of my meetings even in the buildings clubhouses. Like clubhouse is like I define clubhouse like this. It's like a one bed or two bed, okay, but without like the master bedroom.
Yeah.
You have everything else in it.
Yeah.
All right, books, entertainments, billboards, and all this stuff basically.
Yeah.
And beside this, even the moment that you step in our building from the lobby itself, you feel it's different.
Yeah.
Because like we also established something called Ellington Art Foundation.
Okay.
Like before any delivery of any project, we do sort of competition between the local artist and the winner. We take his art piece, whatever.
Oh, really?
We
Is
put
that
it.
right? I
Yes,
had
we
no
put
idea.
it
Wow.
in the lobby. So that's why if you visit one of our lobby, you will see some art pieces, and next to it there is a barcode that you can read and learn about that piece of art. So this is the first impression of our building.
For sure.
Also, like in some occasion, like let's say Christmas, Ramadan, Eid, Valentine Day, for example, as well. You will see it's like fully decorated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we entertain also like kids and family. Like, you know, now weather is like 45 degrees, right?
It's a bit warm, yeah.
Exactly. So what we did in one of our, like in a couple of our buildings, we brought like the ice cream machine and car. We did the sort of activity. So we just want to have that moment where the parents seeing their kids happy.
Yeah.
This is the whole point behind our design, basically.
And I think that's I don't want to use the word extreme, but that's very resonant. I think people can kind of see that, and you're really, I think, embedding yourself from a community aspect, because it's very easy to just hand over the building, and it could be a great building, right? But arguably your job is done as a developer, right? You could almost detach yourself from there. You have a management company looking after the building, the tenants are happy, investors are happy, homeowners are happy, let's concentrate on the next project, right? But I think to kind of keep in theme and, you know, be relevant to that building, offer something just a little bit outside of what is the industry norm, is probably where you get a lot of your previous clients continuing to invest in the brand, because they come to kind of almost expect that sort of level of service now, right?
Yeah, we do have, actually, it's very interesting, but we do have a lot of our tenants that currently live in our buildings. They've been staying there for a lot of years, and they end up buying from us. So this, again, is also one of those moments that we are very proud of, you know, because who knows better a building than someone that has been
living there,
exactly,
right? Of course,
yeah,
absolutely. No, I think that's very much testament to the brand. And one thing you touched on earlier, and design, and again, speaking to our audience who perhaps have not yet visited an Ellington building or don't actually know what that looks like in terms of a design element, one thing that often blows my clients away, that I make sure I point out the details every time we go, and Eva can definitely concur with that, is just the small little details that I remember I had a client from over the UK sat with you, and we just explained to the client that some of these small details don't actually cost the developer much money at all, but it's just the thought process. From anything from, you know, just hiding the kitchen sponges and so on, having a little compartment that you can tuck it away, or when you walk into almost any Ellington property, there's just a bit of storage. So rather than having just a white blank wall, it's actually having, you know, the wall's there anyway. Let's create some inserts. Let's make some storage out of it. And again, from a developer's perspective, often it doesn't cost that much money. A big example, and this is probably the most tedious one, but a big one for me is I really love the little details. Like in the bedroom, you have the little hook that comes out that you can leave your clothes out. So when you jump out the shower, you know exactly what you're wearing. And, you know,
especially for us, you know, we throw all our t-shirt on the bed.
This is it, exactly. Man after my own heart. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So now I won't be making a mess. I can leave it there. But, you know, you think about that. How much does that actually cost, that little hook, right? It is such a small amount of money, but from a lifestyle element, what does that say about the brand, right? So, and I think that's a very important.
I think like also, I know like most of developer, they will use the word of lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what you said is truly, this is a lifestyle.
For sure.
Like for us, customer is the first element while we design.
Yeah.
It has to be all centric about the customer itself. I remember when we did our project in Upper House, and you know, as a developer, the last floor is like the most profitable floor, and the most wanted floor as well.
Penthouse, essentially.
It's a penthouse floor. We came up with the idea called penthouse for everyone. All right. We thought like, what if like someone has just a normal studio, one bed on lower floor? Why we don't give him the feeling of penthouse? So what we did, we redesigned the last floor, and we put like couple of amenities on the last floor, including cinema, popcorn corner, workshop, arcade room, and a lot of other amenities. Plus, he will enjoy the best view of the building.
Of course. And I'm a big fan of that building. Exactly. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And again, that very much is testament to the brand, right? It's very easy, as you said, to then just put a penthouse there, maybe a swimming pool, let's sell it. And for sure, there'll be huge demand for that as well, because it's a fantastic building, a great location. But to almost give that element back to all of the different profile and budgets within the building, that sense of penthouse living, essentially. So testament to the brand.
And something I will add as well is, we have noticed as well in Dubai, more and more the apartments are a little bit smaller. So this is also something that Ellington really is standing by our sizes. So this is really a big thing. Now, sizes, I also mean into details. For example, how we design all our apartments. It's not just a big size apartment. It's also the thought process, as you said, into every small thing. So I am a woman, so I value my
So
space.
mean,
wardrobe space, I think
My
that's-
wardrobe, more
The
specifically.
shaving bar in the bathroom.
Exactly, that's a good one as well. The kitchen space as well. So
Yeah.
all those things, you know, when you enter, you can immediately notice, you know, like you don't see anything coming out,
Yeah,
you know, you
exactly.
really have storage space into everything. From the moment you step in,
Yeah.
you can put your bag, you can put your keys, you have a
Yeah.
little nice entrance hall, you can put your
There's
shoes.
also place for suitcases. I'm sure
Exactly.
you
Right,
saw
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
This is the problem. As we said, majority of us are expats here, right? So we have suitcases, we have a lot of luggage, and the problem
Exactly.
there's just not storage solutions for these
Yeah.
sort of things, right? So I think that's a big factor. And one thing that my last client actually really kind of we discussed the viewing afterwards, and our thoughts on the project. And one thing he actually said is he was surprised at just how much storage is available in the kitchen. Now, again, I know we're expats here, and for the most part, I'm sure our audience don't mind us saying, there's a lot of people just here on microwave meals, right? So the kitchen sizes are not necessarily needing to be that big, but there is just so much storage, right? It almost kind of overhangs into the living room,
Yeah.
but not taking up the space. So it's very, very well
So
designed.
you are telling them to be prepared for more groceries.
Well, this is it, exactly. More storage, more problems. This is the thing, yeah. So look, Abdullatif, let's roll back the years a little bit. Let's talk about the early beginnings for Ellington. So Belgravia is an iconic building for the history
Yeah.
of Ellington Properties. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about that building and why
Exactly.
it's so special?
Belgravia 1 is
Belgravia
the
1.
first baby of Ellington, basically. Now, Belgravia is located in JVC. Before we start in Belgravia, let's see, like, one of the reasons that we focus on certain areas is the opportunity in that area.
Sure.
Now, Belgravia located in JVC. If you see, JVC is like almost 20 minutes from everywhere. And it's one of the areas that has a really good potential. That's why we've seen lately, like, it's one of the top 5 areas, whether for
Yeah.
sales or for even renting,
Right, yeah.
right? So, but back in that day, there was a problem, okay, that buildings, like, were very normal. So we came up with a luxury building, very unique building, a boutique building, G+4, called it Belgravia. From the design point, the sizes, the amenities what we spoke earlier, it was like, okay, this is it, it's Belgravia. Till date, by the way, people, they think Belgravia, it's a developer. They don't know
really?
it belongs to
Oh,
Ellington,
really?
yeah.
I wasn't
Because
aware.
Belgravia became a series. We have Belgravia
course.
1, 2, 3, a square, Belgravia Heights,
Of
and
course.
Sloan by Belgravia Heights as well.
Yeah.
So, and I remember one of my clients that she invested in Dubai Hills with us. I said, "Oh, where do you live, by the way?" She said, "Actually, I live in one of your buildings." I said, "Where?" She said, "Belgravia 1." I said, "Oh, Belgravia 1, which was in 2017.
Yeah, for sure.
After Belgravia 1, we did like more upgraded
For
compared
sure.
to
Yeah.
Belgravia
Yeah,
1.
of
I
course.
thought like she will be going to
more recent
Belgravia.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah,
She
for
said, "No,
sure.
we love Belgravia 1. We love the way they design." And Belgravia, we were one of the first developers that brought the concept of kitchen island
Yeah.
in JVC. Like, even the shower area is different. So, and this was the start of Ellington, basically. On the handover, people, they were shocked with the quality and the way it's designed, and it started to generate very good ROI, which I think it will be our next topics as well.
Yeah.
So I always like see Belgravia, but Belgravia, it's a brand for Ellington, basically.
For sure.
And even if you see, for example, Belgravia 3, I'm not sure if you visited
Yeah,
or no.
one of my
Like,
colleagues lives there, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
A lot of people, like, I think agents also, they live in Belgravia.
Majority.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I told our designers, this building has to be somewhere near downtown, not in JVC.
Yeah, I mean, it's that age-old saying, right? If you could pick it up and move it,
Yes.
but then for sure enough, the price will be higher as well, right?
Exactly, of course. So
No, I think it's really special, that project, and I remember being in the market as that project was starting to take handover. And look, let's make our audience aware that if you look at Jumeirah Village Circle, JVC, as an area, it was often looked at a quite affordable location.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, it's a master community,
Yeah.
but with lots of different plots, and it's still maturing, in real time. But people often looked at that location as you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Big sizes, the rent wasn't too high. It was very easy for be it an end user or an investor or a tenant, right? So it kind of worked for all the different audiences. But I think what actually took the market by surprise is when Belgravia handed over, people started to see that both landlords, and even when you guys were selling it off plan, you were about 30% above the rest of the market in that location. Now, so that's quite a big, bold statement of your intent from the beginning. And I guess it probably didn't fly off the shelf at the beginning because you're about 30% above everybody else. So I think when people started to understand the actual value proposition, and I saw that from the rentals perspective, because if I can be completely honest, I also doubted that you'll get those rentals. I was like, well, how, right? It looks amazing. Let's not doubt that. But it was like, if I have 15 different options that suggest that you're overmarking the price here, you know, why would I consider it? But, you know, I'm happy to be sitting here, you know, some 5-6 years on and actually be proved wrong, right? That people saw the value in paying a little bit more for having the modern aesthetics, the amazing the facilities. I know we talked about the island, but that's all I remember. Belgravia, to me, when I look at Belgravia and you say the name, I just see the kitchen island, because that was a game changer, right? We just weren't used to it. And mind you, I think worth noting as well that your sizes were actually smaller than what a lot of the other developers were offering. So your sizes were actually a little bit smaller, but your prices were higher. Yet, you achieved a higher price point.
Exactly.
That's crazy, right?
Yes.
And I think it's important for people to understand that, to really understand the Ellington ethos and you know, proof being in the pudding, so to speak, as, you know, the concept works. People have now really started to appreciate the value of actually their home itself. And again, we go back to the lifestyle elements. And if you look at JVC, and I know I appreciate that we're kind of diving quite deep here, but what I noticed is a shift, and maybe you guys can speak to this as well, but a lot of people were living in areas like Dubai Marina, which is an iconic location, you know, the world's largest marina in the world, and so on and so forth. It's a great place to be, but for the value that you pay in terms of rent, you don't actually get that much of a nice building, right? Yeah. So people started to realize, hey, am I paying for the location, or am I actually paying for, you know, a great place to live? And as you said, Abdullatif, you know, JVC is about 15 minutes away, 13 minutes maybe away from Marina, but yet suddenly I get a cheaper rent and a much better place to call home. And we started to see that shift, right?
And I would argue as well that now it's shifting in the sense a lot of people are moving to Dubai. Traffic is increasing compared to 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So now actually JVC, I would argue that is even more central or easier to access from all points or central locations in Dubai than, for example, if you live really in the center of the marina. If you want access to downtown, you know, to the airport, to Mall of the Emirates, to all those iconic, it's much easier to access.
Besides that, JVC has its own facilities, like
now, it has its mall, gym,
like everything. Everything that you need as a daily basis, you will find it in JVC.
And then plus you got easy access to a lot of the schools, right? Because you've got a lot of schools and hospitals in and around that area. So we're definitely seeing a surge of people not only maybe choosing there because of the price point, but actually wanting to be there because of the easy accessibility to all of the other
For me, the only missing thing that was in JVC was the metro line, which finally
it's being announced that it will happen.
And this will, I think, add certain value also to all these locations next to JVC as well.
So that's a perfect segue. Thank you. So Eva, a lot of people would have been familiar with Ellington, and I think we kind of alluded to it, but the capital appreciation and ROI as an investor, you know, how does Ellington, so to speak, ensure that we're able to kind of tick that box for our investors?
So I would say, first of all, Ellington, you know, we are non-master developers, but we always make sure that we are choosing very strategic locations to ensure that, you know, in terms of ROI or capital appreciation will be there once the project is finished. Now, also, if I have to look into our projects, for example, to show you how well Ellington is doing in terms of numbers. For example, if you look at even, for example, JVC, our first buildings, how much we were then selling for and how much now they are, the value they are at, you can see a huge capital appreciation. Started maybe around 1,000. Now reselling around 1,500
During per square foot, you mean? Yeah.
Exactly. Even during hard times, for example, COVID, where a lot of developers, unfortunately, prices had to go down, etc., in order for them to resell it. Ellington didn't. So Ellington maintained, and back then I remember a client said, I sold at a loss, I only made 100,000 profit.
Wow.
So
big loss.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think that's probably a really good testament, actually, right?
Yes.
It's just the fact that, if where a lot of people genuinely lost money on the properties that they were selling at that time due to, the worldwide pandemic, but to be in a position where you've perhaps not made as much profit as that you would have liked, being the worst case scenario. I mean, you've done pretty okay in that case, right?
Yeah. And even looking at all our communities, you can really see how much the prices are increasing in our projects, very specifically, even more than other surrounding developers.
Sure.
I can name a lot of them, but just to name JVC, or even, for example, in Meydan, this is a big location for Ellington, for the future of Ellington as well. So we started around 1,300 and now reaching close to 2,500, 2,600.
Wow.
So those are also figures to look into.
Also, I can give you, if we go a little bit back with time, for me, DT1 in downtown was something I will never forget.
Yes.
Icon.
Exactly. When you mention downtown, people, they always ask about, does it have Burj Khalifa view, fountain view? And guess what? DT1 has neither. No Burj Khalifa view, no fountain views. It's next to an empty plot and facing a mosque. For some people, mosque is good. For some people, mosque is not good now. Regardless. So it's a boutique building. G+16 only has 131 units only. Yeah. We used to sell the 3-bed as around 4.7 million dirham, okay, and most of the agents, I would say, they would say, oh, it's expensive, Burj. And I remember I did couple of meetings, viewing, and I had the same feedback.
Of course.
No view, next to empty plot. But till the handover, people started to realize, oh, this building, it's boutique, and the size that we get with this finish, you cannot find it in downtown.
There's no comparable.
Exactly. The 3-bed, for example, was the 3+ made, 2,500 square foot, a brand new building. If you want to find such a property, you have to go 10 years ago back on the same location.
Mm-hmm.
So people start to come and say, "Wow, this is I can call it a building." And then 4.7 today, if you look at the recent transactions, being transacted at 6.8 million.
Wow.
For a building that has no
course,
view.
No, exactly. And I think that's very important. I'm glad you raised that, because you're right. When you think downtown, naturally, it's okay, where's the Burj Khalifa view or the fountain view? But to achieve that sort of price point and not have either, and then, like you said, the obvious concerns of what does the future look like for this building with an empty plot, and when we say that, we think about the noise and the view and what have you, right?
Exactly.
So it's quite astonishing.
And also, I was sitting with one of my clients recently, was showing true data from Property Finder by Youth, and I did a small comparison. I said I opened the 2-bed listings in the surrounding buildings. I saw 40 listings, and then I showed the 2-bed in DT1. Guess what? One listing.
People don't want to leave.
350,000 dirham,
wow,
which is almost double to what we saw. The guy said, why? I said, this is Ellington. Very simple. I think if you provide what people they need, you will always achieve good targets.
I'm glad you said that. And one thing that I think a lot of my investors and my clients tend to look at the most, and it's something I speak about a lot, is if you are an investor, the 2-bedroom plus made configuration that you guys offer, very few developers offer that to the market. So suddenly you're actually tackling modern day problems, right? Because look, I know if you want to say it like that, but Ellington was almost born out of Emaar, right? Because of Robert Booth and his journey or what have you. But something that some of these other developers like Emaar, some of the bigger developers as well, don't offer is a 2-bedroom plus maid configuration. Now, if you're sitting in Europe and watching this, perhaps can't necessarily relate, so to speak, the lifestyle here for a lot of people. If they've got children, for the most part, they'll have a maid's room, right? And I think that's just a modern norm here in Dubai. It's not something that's kind of crazy. Please don't make any thoughts that I'm really gone pompous and pretentious. It's not the case, but it's just a lifestyle thing, right? So a lot of people have maids, but what they're actually almost being forced to do is then rent or buy a 3-bedroom, which inherently tends to have a maid's room. But by default, now you've got an extra bedroom anyway, right? So now you don't need the maid's room. So it's definitely tackling that problem. And what I've seen a lot of investors benefit from by buying a 2-bedroom plus maid, you're buying what we describe a very end user sort of focused project, property and specific floor plan, right? Exactly. So if I, upon handover, are looking to buy a property for my family, the chances are I will be looking for a 2-bedroom plus maid, because a regular 2-bedroom just doesn't work for me. But there's very few of them available to the market. So the price that you can achieve as an investor or, landlord, if you're selling it back, is far greater, right? So I think, again, to your merit, identifying these kind of key differentiators in the market really speaks to the capital appreciation or the future ROI that's available.
Of course. Even in downtown, for example, I think we're the only building to do 2+ maid.
Yeah.
None of the surrounding buildings do.
At least the new ones, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So we've spoke about the different projects, and we touched on a couple like Belgravia, which is, very much rich of the history of Ellington Properties. What are the kind of more standout and iconic projects, if people again are not necessarily familiar, that they might have heard of, or necessarily big projects that you guys have been lucky to be part of?
I would mention one, specifically.
Which one's that? Sorry,
Mercer House.
Mercer House. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. We both agree on
that.
Mercer.
That has to be.
I think it's unanimous. I mean, I'm still blown away by that.
Iconic.
It's a lifestyle. It's experience building.
Yeah.
I always say, like, in some buildings, like, a location gives value to a property, well, this property gives value to the location.
It's a very good way of putting it. So what is it about this building for our clients and our investors and our audience that are sitting here watching this? What is it about this building that has got that twinkle in your eyes?
For me, the number one is really the amenities in here. So really creating this lifestyle inside the building that you don't even have to go outside, to, for example, have access to an amazing gym that is on one of the highest floors with a view over, all the villa surrounding communities, to have access to a sauna, a cold room.
Yeah.
So this
the
is
trend
also
now. Everyone suddenly is like a
bathtub. Exactly. Well, Ellington's always part of the trend, right? So whether it's a podcast or the ice bath, we're all over it. Yeah.
Always adapting to the latest trends.
We can mention we designed a 45,000 square foot of urban beach pool club over there with real beach, refreshment areas, retails. If you want to go downstairs, you will see plenty of coffee shops, retails that inspired from New York Times Square, basically. Yeah. We have a sport complex that you can play any type of a sport, basically, because the pitch is designed in a way that you will use laser, and you want to play football, go ahead. You want basketball, paddle, and all this. Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned, you don't need to go outside. Even there will be retail. If you want to have like some small shoppings, there will be shopping center in the building itself.
And I would say also that this 45,000 square feet kind of beach that we've created between both buildings is really iconic. It's the first time as well that Ellington is inviting people that are not residents necessarily in the building to have access to
it's open for public.
Like a day pass almost.
It's a public.
It's public have access to it.
Exactly. With DJs on the weekends, restaurant vibes, everything that Dubai lifestyle is looking for is going
Yeah.
to be present there.
And also, like, it's from the entrance till you leave. It's like
Yeah.
everything has if we
Everything.
want to speak about Mercer, we'll spend 1 hour
Yes.
here.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and it seems like it. And I think what I know we touched on that in the beginning, but you've literally got from like Mercer House and Ellington Upper House as well, which is all kind of in and around the Jumeirah Lake Towers sort of community. You've got projects on the Palm, in Maidan, and we say Palm very blasé, but you got some world-class buildings
Yes.
on the Palm, right? Iconic in their own right.
Sure.
DT1, which is again an icon. I'm overusing the word icon now, but I guess it just very much speaks to the sort of design element and adding something new to almost each community you go to.
Also, I want to mention one more
Sure.
building that I personally love is not in Dubai. It's different emirate.
Okay.
It's in Ras Al Khaimah, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Our first building, which is Porta Playa.
Yeah.
Porta Playa was our first building, I think, and it's one of the first in Raqqa as well, that we used an AI to design the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to maximize the best views, the
Yeah.
wind speed, and all the stuff. So, and also it has its own private beach access,
Beautiful
clubs,
building,
the swimming pool. Like if you enter the building, you can see the swimming pool like all the way to the other side.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is.
And the building got sold in the same day. So we started 10 a.m. morning, 4 p.m. nothing.
Yeah.
I remember you
In a
called
different emirate, right?
Yeah,
and
in a
one of
totally
my
different
clients
emirate.
was very fortunate enough to bag himself a townhouse as well. So you can step out and then you're directly onto this beach and pool. It is honestly beautiful. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because we spoke about capital appreciation here. And Ras Al Khaimah, because that was a joint venture, if I'm not mistaken, with Ras Al Khaimah
with
Properties.
Properties, the master
And
developer.
the price per square foot substantially lifted with Ellington's touch, essentially, right? So that was in Mina Al Arab. This is the prices were nowhere near. I think, and I could be mistaken, but I think they were selling around 11 to 1,200 dirhams per square foot.
Yes.
And what were you selling Porta Playa at that point?
When we started, we lifted the area to 1,800.
Wow.
This was like just the beginning.
Yeah,
And today it's much more than that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
And
I
also, since you mentioned it was a joint venture with Ellington Properties, the master developer.
Sure.
For me, it was like I had just one question when I asked our CEO, Mr. Robert Booth, because when we launched Porta Playa, Porta Playa is the first line of the beach, basically.
Sure, yeah.
They launched one line behind us, and now for me it was like they are the master developer, but why we are launching on the beach?
Yeah. Why are they not
Exactly.
launching on the beach, right?
And here you have something called Ellington's effect, basically.
Yeah.
If we are in an area, the whole area will raise exactly.
Yeah.
So it was one of the conditions that if we want to be in Iraq, we have to have the best plot. Therefore, Porta Playa came next to Nikki Beach, next to Anantara. It's a beautiful, iconic building.
no, absolutely.
And I remember, I don't know if my client will hear this or not. I sold one of the units, then I told her, listen, I have to take 1 week free staycation there.
Okay. So this is a condition. You put
Exactly.
in the clause? Okay, great.
So she agreed. So
Okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I need to call my client and make sure. If you're listening, I'm going to give you a call after this podcast. No, that makes sense. And again, I think that kind of almost comes full circle for me. We spoke about capital appreciation and ROI. And as you eloquently put it, the Ellington effect, if you will, is that, any area that you guys lend your hand to would often blossom into something quite special. And there's so much we haven't covered, like the projects in Al Jadaf, and that was very much the same sort of story, that you go there and you lift the prices. So
I mean, also one more thing, like people, when they I had a guy, he came, he said like, I have certain of budget, I don't know where to buy. I said like, Ellington, it's a brand, so you are investing in the brand. The good thing with us, like we cover almost everywhere, all type of investors. If you are like if you are a 1.5 million dirham investor, you can come join Ellington. If you are like 20 million, 30 million, so the options are, the options are there, different locations. So that's why like we are very happy to cater all type of investment. So we're not just attached with one location or one price point. That's it.
So final question, what is the outlook of Ellington Properties moving forward? What can you tell us? What's the scope? What's the vision? What's the plan?
This is a tough one.
It's a tough one, right? Maybe we need to get Rob Griffith for this one.
I mean, to start with the locations. So the good thing again is that we're not attached just to one location. So Ellington always really analyzes the market, watches where is the future. For example, we've heard of, the new airport coming up. This is just one example. So we are going to be launching close to those areas maybe in the future. We have big plans. Ellington is, launching quite a few projects lately, and in the future we're not planning to slow down. We really want to keep this momentum.
Well, I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us today, and
Most
thank you to
welcome.
our audience for listening.
Thank you, Rennie.
Most welcome.
Thank you.